Matt, is this game still alive? Yeah. I mean, a lot of people right now are in instances and stuff, but yeah. I think most of the Archeage Unchained servers are doing quite well. Tyranno specifically is like really, really balanced with tons and tons of PvP and such, so that's an NA server that's doing quite well. There's a fresh start server per region that's, I think came out like in the last 3 months, like 3 months ago or something, so there's still fairly new ways to play the game with people who, you know, you can catch up to a little bit quicker. But because like this new, like all the new systems in the game for progression and such, they're so easy to catch up with. Like honestly, a month or two of effort, and if you want to do PvP, you'll be able to catch up with PvP. Or if you want to do boat stuff, you'll be able to do your boat stuff or whatever. It's really not that hard. At least because of Archeage Unchained, and because of like the Arc Pass, and because of all the systems that exist in it, it's really, really easy to catch up now more than ever with the current systems. And you can still compete quite nicely. But I think most of the servers are doing quite well. There's a couple that are kind of dying or just not in a good state where there's not really a lot of competition. But yeah. Can you show top gear score leaderboard? Yeah, but again, this is not a really good frame of reference as I talk about on my stream. Like all the stats you get out of this are really, really similar to Legendary. So, like, just getting full Legendary... Like, I just killed this person, to be honest. Like, one of these people, and I barely have that much gear score, right? Gear score is not a metric to go by. It's really about stats. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of the people at the top of the gear score list are at 17,000 plus. And again, to be able to compete against them is really not that hard. Gear curves off massively at the end game. So, you're able to catch up to a point where you can compete against them just fine. And, by the way, this is not always true. Like, the old system actually curved upwards. The more gear you got, the greater, like, it massively increased your actual damage and everything. It was impossible to catch up in that system. But in the current system, it's a lot nicer. Like, actually, you're able to do quite a bit with just any kind of gear. If you're, like, a melee and you're going against a tank, you're not going to kill them, that's not what you should be doing, right? You should be going against certain people. But mostly this changed with the Haram introduction. Haram, when they removed Obsidian gear and they brought in Haram, and they you know, the way that the library dungeon gear works, the way that the world boss system gear works, these changes in the last couple of years, I guess. This is where everything has kind of turned, and now you start having systems that actually encourage people to work on their gear, and the more you work on it, the less gains you get, which was the opposite of how it worked before. In the very, very old system. So it's actually a lot nicer. What people don't realize also, and I talk about this a lot, is that there is a ton of builds you can play that do not require any gear at all. And it doesn't just have to be Bard, although that's the most obvious one. There are tons of other builds where from the back lines you can buff your allies massively in ways that people don't normally do. You can debuff your enemies massively in ways that people don't normally do. And you can also like just do things from the backline while you get the gear you need for the builds that you want. And in a lot of, honestly, most of the time, these kind of builds are better than having an extra DPS, because AoE silence is so powerful, because health lift is so powerful, because protective wings is so powerful and people don't even use it. And so my point is that a lot of people don't play these classes when they're leveling up and they're gearing up, when they're going to like PvP stuff and they want to help out, and so they feel like they're just never going to be able to catch up, when in reality there's a lot of ways you can actually participate in really unique ways that are a lot of fun, and people just don't take that chance. Or they look at the gear score list and they say, there's no way, there's nothing I can do. But honestly, I had 11k gear score, and I was able to kill so many of these people who had like 17k at the time, because it's not about gear score. Gear score is just a show-off number. It's about the gear and the stats that you get from it. And in most cases, the people who I go for, I was able to kill just fine when I had ridiculously low gear score, because I know how to play, and I understand very well my class, my strengths and my weaknesses, and what I enjoy doing versus what I don't enjoy doing, and where I should be in a battlefield, and I understand how to use my gliders and mounts and pets very, very well. I have everything on hotkeys, and of course after years of gameplay I was able to do this and achieve this, right? But catching up is fine. It's really not that hard. Or to get to a point where you're competitive as a DPS is fine. It's not that bad. You can do it in a couple months if you're really, putting effort on that. But another thing that people usually forget, and this is going to be my last point, I swear, because I'm going off on this a lot, I know. But it's a good question that comes up a lot, Mad. What people kind of forget is that the people in the top gear score here, they weren't, over the last 8 months, just working on their gear, right? This is not all they've been doing. It's gear and boats and vehicles and upgrading those things and housing and plots and cosmetics and gliders and combat pets and actually getting gear for the combat pets, because there's actually huge merit to that now, especially for PvE. And getting different mounts and using diligence for all the cool little things and gadgets you can get in the diligence store. And so there's all these different things. I'm going to ignore that comment, Quinn. There's all these different things. Look, people cheating, it's going to happen. All right, get out of here. My point is that I've been able to kill those people, all right? It's not that big of a deal. So my point is that there are so many different things that people have been doing and working towards in this game. It's not just gear. And so if you put in your couple months towards gear, you're going to be able to be at a point where you can compete just fine, right? If you put in your time towards a boat, you can get to a point where you have a boat that's competitive against the other, crazy boats on the server. You can get to that point pretty quickly. It's just there's so many different things you can do in the game that a lot of the times, people forget that, like, it's not just about gear, too. So what happens if you buy gold? What is it? Is this the, what does that say? Nothing. Oh, goodbye. Wait, is that actually a player that got banned recently? Because Goodbye is a familiar name. Actually? Yeah, but they don't really ban a lot of the gold buyers, alright? It's the truth, obviously. We know that. And it happens. It happens in any game. But look, those people progressed quickly, and now they're usually just banking on their gear to help them survive, right? And I'm killing those players, and I literally have paid two $15 things, right? One for the base game. I'm like dying in my voice here. One for the base game and one for the expansion, right? The DLC or whatever. And that's it. And I'm able to compete just fine with one ult, by the way, with one other character on one other account that I barely log into. I'm able to compete just fine, so it's really not that big of a deal. And I have a cool fancy boat, and I have fancy stuff in my housing, and I have a history house, and I have a small wyvern, and I have this cool gliders and stuff, and I have all the cool little boats and this, I have everything. I have everything that I could ever want, and I have one other character, period. So, like, it's not that crazy, alright? It's fine. There are so many ways to play this game, people forget that it's actually perfectly fine to catch up. Check Nude's Gladiator win rate. I mean, yeah, people... Yeah, I know. People also, like, farm their own ults and everything, do whatever they can to win. Oh, hey, Nude actually... Wait, no, that's Nude. Where's Nude's? There's two of them. What am I looking at here? I don't see them. Wait, actually, people are playing this legitimately. Oh yeah, you mean Nude? Yeah, actually, people are playing this legitimately. But Nude is a different player. Right? There's two, you're right. Yeah. Look at Nude's win rate. with an apostrophe. Yeah, 57.7%. That's good, right? That means they actually play legitimately. They're not just, like, fighting your ult all the time. That's a good thing. Oh, that's your point. Yeah, number 1 NA gear score with 57% win rate. There you go. That's a great example of gear doesn't, like, being at the top of the gear score doesn't equal instantly knowing everything and being able to do everything and kill anybody, alright? There's still strategy involved. In 1v1, there's still rock, paper, scissors involved. I'm sorry, alright? It's a thing, alright? It's just... Okay, this game isn't based around 1v1. And so, like, there's still tons of other things happening. It's not just about gear. There's so many other things, right? So, Matt, I hope that gives you some answers to your question. That went off a bit too long, but I might actually highlight this part, because I know it's a very, very common question.